Hello and welcome to what could eventually be a full-time YouTube show of Zobo with a shotgun. So today I thought instead of talking about movies, I would talk about one of my other loves, and that is books. Of course, horror, but I am a big book lover and I love to read, and I just thought it might be quite interesting to do something a little bit different. So I'm going to go through some of my favourite, they're not all extreme horror, there's definitely, you might be able to see it over there, there's definitely a couple others that may be a little bit more extreme that I'm sure I'll talk about at some point, but today I'm just going to go through a few of the ones that I personally absolutely adore. Let's start with the one that I am currently rereading, and that is none other than Ian Banks' The Wasp Factory. Oh, need to get this framed right for the YouTube. Yeah, this book is, I can't remember how I found it or how it was recommended to me, but I really love this book. It's very disturbing. I think now that I'm watching it a second time round, reading it, sorry, it's not as disturbing as it was the first time because I know what's coming, but it's basically about a boy called Frank. He's 17 years of age and he has killed 3 children, including his younger brother, his cousin, and perhaps another family member. And it's kind of like written by him as almost like, you know, a diary of different things that he does, how he killed them, why he killed them. That's not a spoiler, by the way. And then also about he's waiting for his brother Eric, who when his brother Eric went mad, started doing horrific things in the neighbourhood, and he went to a mental hospital and he's escaped and he's coming home. So it's all about Frank's life and the things that he does, but it's really disturbing in a sense that you get into his mind and you begin to understand all these he does weird shit. A lot of gross stuff, a lot of weird things. And it's set in Scotland. I think it's somewhere near Inverness as far as I'm aware, which is near where my family are from, so slightly weird. But yeah, it's fantastically written. It's very good, and it's really gripping. And I think, you know, if you like something that's quite dark and is going to really disturb you, then this is it. I would recommend that you buy all your books secondhand, because you'll save on money and you also help to save the world. So the next book I have, which is also one of my favourite films, is Found by Todd Rigney. So this book, I actually got this after seeing the film. So the film Found is one of my favourite horror films. Amazing book, really fantastic. So this is about a young boy called Marty, and Marty discovers that his older brother is a serial killer, and the way that he discovers that is he discovers a decapitated woman's head in a bowling ball bag in Marty's room when he's not supposed to obviously go through his stuff. What I love so much about this is that I really find it terrifying, you know, because Marty looks up to his brother, really loves his brother, idolizes him, and then, you know, and he's also kind of like getting into horror films, and then he finds out this big secret about his brother, and he doesn't know whether he needs to fear his brother, how he should feel about it, which I think is a really interesting concept. Is if you found out, you know, a family member who you've known forever and they're nice to you and they look after you, etc., you found out they were a serial killer, how would you cope with that? Especially at Marty's age. I believe he's around about like 10 or something like that. And yeah, and then this went on to be made into a film. Fantastic film, absolutely love the film by Scott Shermer. So if you get a chance, I would say read the book, watch the film, and they'll definitely become a couple of your favourites because it's very fucked up, and very scary. Yeah, really scary. So that's Found by Todd Rigney. Let's go to, and I'm sure, oh gosh, I'm giving it away already. I'm sure you might know this one already, but it is none other than Bret Easton Ellis's American Psycho. I should probably put it on this side, shouldn't I? Firstly, I love this cover. The thing is with books is they all have so many different covers, and I know a lot of people will often collect, you know, like movies for their covers, books for their covers. Yeah, you can find quite a few different ones, but I just really love this. I love books that have lots of red on them. I try to, on my bookshelf, which is very small and selected, I like to have almost kind of like a red and black aesthetic. Again, a movie, which I happened to see the movie before I read the book. I saw the movie quite a long time ago. Recently rewatched it as well, and I still really love it. Christian Bale, to die for in that. You never thought you'd fancy a serial killer, did you? But you know, there we go. Here we are. Please come in with your chainsaw. This book it's not easy to read. The reason it's not easy to read is because in it, we follow a guy, Patrick Bateman, who is OCD. He's got all these compulsions and these obsessions, which you often find serial killers do have. But it's written so well, is that, you know, there's like entire chapters that just go on about business cards or like the cut of a suit, which can be hard to read, but I think that's what makes American Psycho so compelling as a book, is that, you know, Ellis didn't hold back, and he did include all of those things and go kind of full throttle with it. The book is way more disturbing than the film is. Like, the film's here, the book is like, you know, on a fucking level. There's things in there, violence against women, that they could have never ever included in the film. I don't even know how you'd show that in the film. A particular scene comes to mind of a rat going inside a woman and being used in a particular way. Yeah, pretty nasty. And I actually read this on the tube, and there was one day, and I'm just kind of there, and there's this guy who shouldn't be doing it, it's rude, isn't it, reading over my shoulder, and I was at that point with the rat, and yeah, I looked and I could see him being like, what the actual fuck. So yeah, so if you don't want people to read over your shoulder, or you want to disturb them, and you also want something that's very intelligently written and compelling, then I would highly recommend Bret Easton Ellis's American Psycho. We're going to go to, gosh, I'm so awkward on camera, aren't I? Sarah by J.T. Leroy. Now, again, I really love this cover, another nice cover that I like. So this is going to be really hard for a lot of people to read. It's basically, yeah, it's very disturbing, really, really disturbing actually. It's about a young transgendered boy who becomes a truck stop, I'm not sure the correct terminology, but like a truck pit stop rent boy, prostitute type thing. He's like 12, so he's a child, and he wears females' clothes. That's part of, you know, and it's just him talking about the things that he does, the relationships he has, the sexual encounters he has, and of course it's devastating, because we're reading it from a point of going, you know, this is a 12-year-old child who is dressing as a female, which is absolutely fine, but perhaps, you know, when you read it in the context of it, there's always an uncertainty, I find, with this book of whether that was what they really want to be doing, or whether they were forced into it by their mother, whether, you know, he thinks that that's what he has to do and has no other choice. But yeah, it's basically about him being a prostitute for these men. So he's a child and yeah, and these men use him for sex, and it's about him wanting to become the best of the trade, and facing a lot of difficulties, and there's drugs, and it's a tough read to get through. It really is. But if you're looking for something that challenges you on a level, then yeah, I would really recommend Sarah by JT Leroy. I'm going to save my favourite till last because that's what people do. The next one is Exquisite Corpse by Poppy Z Bright. This one was recommended to me by a few different people actually on social media. A couple of people recommended this one to me on I think it was Instagram, but maybe some other channels as well. And yeah, so I was like, okay, let's go for it. And oh my god, this book is fucking incredible. It's so good. So it's about two separate serial killers, both homosexual men, in different parts of the world, and it's about them murdering young boys and their sexual fantasies and what they like to do to the bodies and how they like to mutilate them and all these things. And it's basically about the relationships they have with people around them. It's very graphic, it's very gory. It of course has a lot of sexual scenes in there. For me, absolutely fine, but maybe for some people you might not like reading about like sex in general. Of course, a lot of that sex is paired with violence, sexual violence, mutilation of bodies, necrophilia. It's very disturbing, but it's really interesting to read because you kind of get in the mind of these two different serial killers, which I just loved. I just loved getting into their minds, and it comes across so raw, so real, and so natural. It's really tough stuff. I would only recommend this to the biggest kind of like people with really strong stomachs that like a lot of gore and they like a lot of violence. I think, you know, if we're thinking about this in like movie terms, this is hardcore. This is extreme. It's worse than your normal kind of horror book. You've got your Stephen King, and then you've got something like this. So it's quite, yeah, but amazing piece of work, and I would highly recommend Exquisite Corpse by Poppy Z Bright. And there's lots of other books that they have written, which I need to add to my list, so I will. Okay, so I'm saving the best till last, and it's of course, drumroll please, Chuck Palahniuk's Haunted. So this is probably my favourite book in the world. Yeah, I love Chuck Palahniuk as a writer. I think he's fantastic. One year my birthday present was literally just a huge bag of Chuck Palahniuk books. This cover is, I think it's stunning. Absolutely love this cover, and I also love the back as well. Just love this emotion with the eyes. Yeah, you know, it's got little parental advisory, read at your own risk. So I would say this was probably one of the first horror-esque books that I read, and one of the first books that, I mean, I've always loved reading, but I would say this is the first book I read that I was gripped by, and I realised how you could create such a sense of horror, disgust within words. You know, I come from a journalism background. I love writing, so I think, to me, you know, I have a fascination with words and how we can use words to describe certain situations. And I think, you know, Chuck Palahniuk is fantastic at doing that, and in Haunted he does it so well. The story is about a group of artists who go to an artist retreat, which is, actually, it's very fitting right now. They go to an artist retreat, which is basically like isolation for creative people, away from the outside world. They don't have anything, they're just in there together, and it's for them to express their creativity, and be able to, you know, focus on whether they're a writer, a painter, or a sculptor, whatever they're supposed to be working on, really focus on that without any outside distractions. I think they're meant to be locked in there for like 3 or 6 months. So you've got all these really interesting different characters, and they each get a chapter, and it will tell you about a story in their life, whether it's current, past, written by them, written by someone else, really, so you really get to know the characters and understand them before you then, you know, see how they're kind of living together in isolation, I suppose. Perfect for being isolated ourselves. And there's one particular story in here called Guts. This has apparently made people faint, pass out, vomit. Apparently Chuck Palahniuk did a couple of readings of that segment, and people actually vomited and threw up. Whether it's an overhype, but it is, I'll tell you what, it's a disgusting, I'd do it in that, you know, that Scottish video, I'd do it in that, but disgusting! It's a really, really disgusting chapter and story, and it's pretty nasty, as are a lot of the stories in here actually, and I just, you know, I love that on anthology to it. It helps you have a lot of different elements to it and really connect with the characters and understand why they might have put themselves in the situation that they did, where they are in their lives, and why they're now in this retreat. And if I could ever recommend anything, I mean, I love this book, as you can see. I mean, if I take you through it, you'll see where I've, you know, dropped my food on it, spilt tea on it, dropped it in the bath. But yeah, it's just a fantastic book, really, really amazing. And that's Haunted by Chuck Palahniuk. So that's all of my books for today. I don't typically do videos, but a few people have requested in the past that I do some more video stuff, and I thought, you know what, why not? We're in isolation, so let's test some more videos. So do let me know what you think of this, whether you also like the books, if you have any book recommendations, and if you'd like to see more videos and any ideas you have. And yeah, I've got loads of time on my hands now, so who knows, maybe I'll be a vlogger soon. I highly doubt it. I'm too awkward. Okay, thanks for watching.